I'm glad to be here today. I've been here, done some other presentations in the past, and been with Emily and Jean and everybody. It's a great group. I always feel so welcome here and comfortable. And so today, you know, the topic, you can see the topic is being a self-advocate for your health. And so what I work for Encompass Community Supports, been doing that for the last 23 years. I'm a prevention manager there. And so what's that mean? You know, I do prevention work. I always tell the story. Before I worked for them, I used to be a chief probation parole officer for 28 years. And I was working with people who had lifelong issues, ended up in prison, they're out in the community. So doing prevention is the other side of that. You're heading problems off before it happens. You're getting in there and keeping people safe, things like that. So I'm tied into mental health prevention, substance abuse prevention. And you know, I always, this is my joke, I think it's funny, you may not think it's funny, but I always say if the government legalizes it, we have to prevent it. You know, so they legalize marijuana and then they say, hey, you gotta do marijuana prevention. They legalize gambling, hey, you gotta do gambling prevention. So I'm in the middle of that too. And it's not really preventing gambling, it's preventing problem gambling, you know, so you don't get to where it's a problem. So we do some of that. But look, today, I'm proud to be here. I have a program, a resiliency-based training series. So I do resiliency, you know, is moving forward after shattering events, that, you know, ups and downs, you bounce back, move forward, that kind of thing, and some life skill trainings. And I love this training here to talk about, you know, being your own self-advocate, you know, taking charge of your life, doing things like that. So it's I'm gonna tie resiliency into it, and I always do. So let me ask you this: what does it mean? I like that. Can you all hear me all right? I want to make sure I'm talking loud enough. You know, my wife says sometimes I yell, but I don't want to yell, but I want to be heard. But what does it mean to be a self-advocate to you? And I'm not putting you on the spot, but I mean, I'm just asking you, because I'm going to go over that, but I'm just asking you, does it mean anything to you? Or what does that mean to you? If you're advocating for yourself.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking at your test results, your lab report with the doctor, and they say, oh, this you need to do this, or why? What, you know, let me understand what this is.
I love it, to feel comfortable with it. Yeah, to feel comfortable and understand what's going on, and not just be told, hey, this is what you need to do.
Another pill.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Anybody else on that? I love that. Yes.
When you go to your doctor, be prepared. Know yourself what you want to know from the doctor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good approach.
Yeah.
Many times people go and don't even know why they're going.
Exactly.
You know, so.
I love it. And you know, you want that relationship. It's like building healthy relationships. I like a doctor that'll listen to me, understand me, and connect with me, you know, and understand me as an individual and listen to me, and not just say, hey, here's a script, you need to do this, we run the test like you say, and do that, goodbye, and you talk to my assistant after this, but you know, make that connection, right? It's important. Anything else with the being a self-advocate? Yes.
Well, feel confident in asking your questions.
I love it. You got a question, put it on the table, and I love that. You know, anything is fair game. If you need an answer, it's important to you, ask it. And I'm good at that myself. I usually talk about things a lot of people are uncomfortable talking about, and I ask about them too. You know, I don't mind doing it. I just put it out there. They say I'm unfiltered once in a while, you know, so let yourself go. Yes?
Yeah, I think standing up for our needs, and, you know, not in an aggressive way, but not in a passive way, just we want to be able to raise those questions that we are wondering about, or
Right.
like, wait, can I get clarification on this? Because
Right.
I'm not clearly understanding.
And it ties in, we talked about tying into your health, but it also just ties into your life in general, your well-being. And you know, I do a lot, talk I did recently is what is mental health, but you know, you got physical health, mental health, they're both equally important. There's no doubt about it. So we need to take charge of that and learn. Yes, Emily?
Yeah, I think building on the prevention aspect, I think you were very helpful in the past in talking about like the vaccines, the things that we
Right.
can do to
Right.
help prevent illness in ourselves.
Yes.
And also advocating and helping our neighbors and things like that.
I love it, and I love you doing the prevention piece, cause I
Yeah.
love the prevention. You know what, I love this thing about how to fall correctly. With all the football, I don't know if people watch football or anything, like, look, I went to UVA, graduated from there, and I teach some courses down there. But I'm a fan of UVA, and they finally have a football team this year, believe it or not. But it's, when we're watching games, I hear people say, man, look how they fall. I wonder if someone coaches them on how to fall and not get hurt and stuff like that. They're rolling all over, getting hit and things like that, and hitting the ground pretty hard. But people ask that, you know, cause we can fall. We can do things, and it's, there's ways to keep yourself safer. I love that. I love that program. I love that you mentioned that. So, appreciate the interaction. I know I got a group now that likes to talk, and I like that, because I don't like getting up here lecturing. When I teach, I don't even lecture. I ask questions, get people going. You're sharp, you got a lot of information, you can lay it out here with me. We'll do it together, okay? So I'm not talking to you, I'm talking with you. So look, I'm listening to this, and look at this. An individual's ability to effectively communicate, convey, negotiate, or assert his or her own interests, desires, needs, and rights. That feels pretty good. I think I hear you saying that. You know, people have feelings, they have things they need done, and they want to understand it. I love it. And so it involves making informed decisions and talking responsibly for those, taking the responsibility for those decisions. You know, I like decision making. I do programs about that too. So if there's an issue that something needs to be done, you need to stop, think, evaluate, get some evidence-based information, keep your emotions in check, and get to the facts, that kind of stuff. So it's good, informed decisions. What does it mean to be your own self-advocate? And I'm hearing you say it right here. You are able to tell people about your thoughts and feelings and ask for what you need and want, as well as speak up for your rights and know what your rights are. Does it make sense? I'm hearing you all say that. I love it. So benefits of self-advocacy. Look, you know, in the prevention world, you talk about what it is, what the benefits are. If there's no benefits, I wouldn't be talking about it, right? So we know there's some benefits to it. And so you're being able to make your own decisions, right? I see you shaking your head, and I love that. I love responses like that. That makes sense. And gaining self-confidence and self-respect. When you make a decision, it makes sense, you feel good about it, it helps your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and that stuff. Look, I heard somebody, and look, I don't like talking the old age thing and all that, but I'm putting it out there. Dick Van Dyke, 99 years old, and you know what he said? What helped him live as long as he did, and I love this stuff. He felt positive about things in life, optimism, and he also had loving relationships, connections. And I wrote it down, man. I say stuff like that. I'm getting goosebumps with that one, you know. So, yeah, I always look to have, well, that's why I say when I come over here, I'm going to live longer just seeing you all. Because I feel good with you, and I see you, and go, hey, everybody cares about everybody. It's good stuff. And I think people care. But that optimism, we're going to talk about that today, too. And so, building allies. You get, allies, you build teams. I do a lot of teamwork presentations too, but when you have teams that help you and you work together, you know who your allies are. That's support, And learning to properly express your need to achieve goals. Be able to put that out, like I say, put it on the table, right there it is. This is what I need to talk about, this is what we need to make decisions on, put it out there. I don't have my keys, I got them in here. But I remember when I used to talk that stuff all the time, I said, hey, I want to put the keys on the table. I slam them on the table. And so they got me to do a talk in Culpeper one time called Putting the Keys on the Table. So it's just expressing yourself, being assertive. You don't have to be aggressive, be assertive. And experiencing teamwork. I mentioned that teamwork word, but when you're working and talking and doing what you want to do and you got your allies, you got a team. You got a team built around you. And you'll develop conflict resolution and creative problem-solving skills. You know, you get your mind working, you can get creative with it, the decision-making stuff. I love it, man. You're using your mind, you've got a goal, you can research it, Google it up. We got it. Am I talking loud enough?
Yes, you are.
Am I talking loud enough? You need me to use this? Okay, I will. I don't mind. That's great. So, and making others aware of issues you are facing. You know, you put it on the table. You know, there's clarity. You know, doesn't know what's going on. They understand clearly what's going on and what's important to you. And so remember this: no one knows your needs better than you. I believe in you, and I know you know them, and it's important for you to express them. Before you can advocate, you must believe in yourself. I go back to that self-confidence, self-esteem, and that kind of stuff. So you need to believe it's okay to get what you need, what you want, and that kind of thing. It's okay. Know that you can make decisions about your own life and understand what is needed to improve your quality of life. What's going to make me feel better? What's going to make my life better? And that's if no one knows better than you. And I like to put that in a big Y-O-U, but you matter the most in this process, okay? You are the focus. You're the center of attention when it comes down to this. And so self-advocacy skills include a person understanding themselves. You get that insight, understand yourself deeply, what you want, what you need, what motivates you, that kind of thing. Your rights, you need to know your rights and your needs, and you need to be able to communicate that to others and get an understanding that other people know what you need, okay? Communication is critical. I don't know why that thing dropped down there. Again, this leads to what they call self-determination, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Self-advocacy skills and self-determination. You like that word, self-determination? Huh? That's your energy, you're moving forward. I'm taking charge. I like to call it taking charge too, but self-advocacy skills are self-awareness, being alert to what's going on. You know, I understand. Communication is key. You know, always work on your communication skills. So I like, when I do trainings on that too, but it's, you know, you got the passive, you got the aggressive, you got assertive. I don't promote aggressive. I do not like the passive, because you're going to get walked on. If you're aggressive, you're going to turn people off. You might scare people too. But when you're assertive, you just stand up for yourself. You express what you need, what you want, and people, it's clear. You think about it. This is what I've thought about. This is what I need. This is what I want, and you got a right to that. You have a right to that, and you have a right to be heard. I can tell you now, you have a right to be heard. Yeah, I'm starting to feel like we're going to take somebody on today. I don't want to be a rabble rouser, but I like it. I love it. You guys get me going. So, and it's some other skills here to navigate resources. I love that you have your magazine. I love that you bring people in and do talks. And there are resources out here that are available. And look, I believe in you. I'm telling you, I'm supporting this program. Every year I'm in prevention. I can tell you right now, I'm going to help you all I can. Forming and nurturing relationships is key. You don't want to turn people off. You want to turn them on. Get them on your side. Build that teamwork stuff. And perspective taking, understanding viewpoints, thoughts, and feelings of others. That's important to do. You know, I always like to know who I'm talking to. What do they think? What do they feel? What's going on with them? Because then I know where they're at, you know, and that helps me. And then okay, they think like me or they don't think like me. Is maybe a challenge, or this is somebody who might be an ally. You know, you need to understand the way people think. I like to open them up. See, if you get me, when I do prevention work, I do a lot of programs where you interact with people, counseling, gatekeeper trainings and stuff, but I always ask people, hey, what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? What's it like to be in you today? I don't ever go, are you okay? You know, because people usually go, what's okay? You know, I don't know what okay is, man, but I do know you have feelings. You're experiencing something, and there's things going on, and I want to hear about them. And then I know what's going on with people. You know, I like doing that. So self-determination, let's talk about that. Self-advocacy skills, we're gonna talk about those. Goal setting, we'll talk a little bit about that, but you know, what do you want to achieve? Set your goals, write them out. If you have to always like to write things down. And then decision making is key. You know, I've talked about that already, you know, being able to examine the situation, what's going on here, do some research if you need to, talk to somebody who's an expert or whatever, but come up to a conclusion on what you think, what you need to do, and make a decision about it. And then problem solving is key as well. All this tie in. Got a problem, let me make some decisions, let me get analyzed, it's all there. And then, so what happens if you do not advocate for yourself? You bottle up many of your thoughts and feelings. They get bottled up, they're tucked away inside. And I'm gonna talk about that a little later, what that can do to you. You choose not to inconvenience others. You know, if I say what I want, you know, I'm being selfish and things like that. You know, you're not inconveniencing anybody, you're living your life. You can put it out there, put it on the table, do what you have to do. And you know, look for allies. Again, people should say, hey, I understand what you're saying, you know, let's work with that, not, don't minimize it. And you put your needs, you put your needs on the back burner if you don't advocate for yourself. You know, you put yourself to the side, others get what they want, you're serving others, and you know, it becomes a enabling, you don't get what you need. Not a healthy way to go. Tips for self-advocacy, be self-aware. We talked about this. You need to know yourself in order to advocate for yourself. So always keep examining what you're feeling, what you need, write the stuff down, talk to people about it, but don't be afraid. You know, you have that right. You need to do that. Be healthy and feel good emotionally, physically, mentally. Know your needs. What are your needs? Write them out. I like writing stuff down. Practice assertiveness. I mentioned that. You know, it's okay to speak your mind. And, you know, timing is critical in that too. You know, wait for a good time, but hey, I need to talk to you. This is what I feel. This is what I think. This is what I need. It's okay. Put it out there. You shouldn't feel bad about that. And if somebody doesn't like it, tough. You know, you don't have, you can, fine. I know where you stand, but I know where I stand. I know what I need. So find allies. People that will support you, healthy relationships, all that. And you'll develop, I mentioned this, but this developing self-confidence. You know, self-confidence is your history with yourself at getting things done. You take on a task, you get it done, you come up with a plan, pat yourself on the back and say, man, I did something, I had an accomplishment, I feel good about that. And you know, as a group, it would be good to do that with each other. Gee, Emily, that decision you made the other day, the way you did that work and everything, I'm proud of you, man. That's fantastic. You know, so we help build each other up. Where does this stuff come from? Yourself, inner strength. It also comes from other people's comments, what they think about you, what they express. It's important, you know, so it's a, you know, one team, one fight. And so utilize supports. I keep mentioning that, but you know, there's usually community resource guides for each county. Orange has one, I'm sure. Culpeper's working on theirs now. But there's resources. And when they get the one for Culpeper, I'll make sure you get that. And it can be online, but we have copies. I'll make sure you get some because you guys, a lot of people tie into other counties. You know, so it's important to have that. And so let's talk about this physical health a little more. I'm not telling you probably something you don't know, but I like to just lay it out here. You can tell me if something's off. But take time to think about your health goals. Here we go. You know, what are my goals? What steps am I going to take to address those goals and achieve those goals? And as I do it, that feels good. You did it. Proud of myself. It's okay. You're not bragging. You don't have to go around and tell, hey, man, look at what I did. You're just talking to yourself. It builds up your confidence. There's nothing wrong with that positive self-talk. Ask yourself how you define a good quality of life. What is it to you? Because it might be different to you and somebody else, you know, but what's a great or a good quality of life for you? It's all about quality of life. You hear that? I teach criminal justice courses. When police talk about strategies and stuff, they want to improve the quality of life in the community, you know, keep people safe from crime. It's doing things to improve your quality of life, whatever that is, physically, emotionally, mentally. What matters most when it comes to your health? These are just things you can think about. As a self-advocate, you have to do your part. Okay, so you get, not everybody's going to do it. You need to take action and do your own things, like take your medications as prescribed. Come up with systems to do that. Make sure it's getting done, because it's important. If it's prescribed and you believe it's good for you, I would do it, you know. Follow your doctor's recommendations about diet, exercise, rest, smoking, and alcohol or drug use. Okay, so it's you know, you got to take care of yourself, and some of these things are not good for you, no doubt about it. But the exercise is great, rest is wonderful, diet's great. You know, like the smoking, we know about that stuff, and we know about too much alcohol or drug use. You and your doctors make decisions as a team, and like we said, you got to have a doctor you believe in, and they connect with you. You know what I mean? I've had some good ones, I've had some bad ones. I love having a good one. You know, you can call them up, you can talk about anything. Hey, I understand, here's what we can do, appreciate you sharing that, appreciate you listening. You know, that's what you want, a listener. And so speak up with your questions, needs, concerns, and preferences. Don't be afraid to express it. You have a right to do that. And the person should listen in that role. If they're not, you might want to check out somebody else. They need to listen. There's no doubt. And so doctor-patient relationship. Your relationship with your doctor should be open, honest, and trusting. That makes sense. That's a relationship with anybody, really, you know, but it's the same. You and your doctors are partners about your health and what's going on with you. They should listen to your concerns and answer your questions so you feel comfortable. I got doctors. I look for ones that do that. And if they don't, I gotta look around. But I'm just saying, if you can find them, you need something like that. You should feel you can talk with your doctor about anything. Your doctor should be sure you understand, like we were talking about, what's going on, what they're talking about, and feel comfortable with health decisions. If you're not doing that, there's a good chance people will follow what's recommended and things. So, you know, there needs to be that connection and some trust. Vaccines, you know, Emily likes this vaccine stuff, so she always says she likes that when it's out there. So look, I'm not trying to be a doctor or anything. I'm giving information. I research the stuff, keep up with it. But getting vaccinated is one of the safest ways for you to protect your health, okay? I mean, I'm not going to get in a battle, so I'm just putting that information. Vaccines can help prevent getting and spreading serious diseases that can result in poor health, medical bills, and not being able to care for your family. As we get older, our immune systems tend to weaken over time, putting us at higher risk for certain diseases. I mean, that's evidence-based information, okay? So we need to take care of ourselves, do proper things, eat right, rest, sleep, all that stuff, so we can do that. And so, you know, when we lay these out, and look, I got at age 65 and older for these vaccines, unless otherwise noted. And what I have to, sometimes they slip in a 50, a 55, or this or that, and that kind of thing, or 60. So I'm just putting it out here. COVID-19 vaccine, that's legit, right? I mean, we have ups and downs with that stuff. And I don't mind saying I have myself, you know, but it's just one, I'm talking research. Flu vaccine, pneumococcal vaccine. Emily, I'm going to get you to do one of these two in here in a minute. Shingles vaccine, and that's 50 and older, okay? Tdap, tetanus, diphtheria, and whooping cough. And then they say the Tdap or TD booster every 10 years, okay? Does that make sense, Emily?
Yes.
And then the RSV, read that one for me. I got the respiratory.
Syncytial virus.
Okay, syncytial. It throws me off. That one gets me. I was gonna put it on, look, we got AI now, we can put that in there, how do you pronounce it, and write it out. And I should have done that before I came, but we could do it, yeah. Yeah, dude, don't be afraid to use that AI once in a while either. I'm not promoting it, but you do. Look, I do a lot of research because I work at the University of Virginia and I teach, so I research stuff all the time. And I have a grandson actually who's doing engineering, but they're working on AI stuff as part of what they're doing. So hey, look, I'm not selling it, but you can, I like the information. That's all I need. I want to research the information and make my own decisions. So hepatitis B, adults 60 and older at risk for infection due to conditions like diabetes or chronic liver disease. Is that good? All right. So then, in here in the presentation, this is in there before, and I think it's good to be in there, but one of the issues can be end-of-life decisions. I mean, look, I'm around a lot of people, I work with a lot of seniors too, and stuff like that. So it's hard to think about and make end-of-life decisions, I'm just putting it out there. Few people want to think about dying and the physical, emotional, spiritual journey that dying involves. It's important to indicate your end-of-life decisions in writing to ensure that your family and healthcare providers will honor them. You will feel more at peace when you do that, so will your loved ones once you have made your end-of-life decisions and put it in writing, okay? That thing cut off there. So again, a little more information, end-of-life decisions to make if you or a loved one are planning in advance. Just some input here. Life support, healthcare proxy or healthcare power of attorney, organ and tissue donation, funeral plans, financial decisions, palliative care or hospice, where you want to die. Well, let's cut off. Who you want to care for you. Okay, important decisions. And look, this is where I'm throwing in a little resiliency information. I like resiliency. I actually live it, man. If you hear my resiliency presentation, I take it on, man. I believe in it enough. I like the principles and everything else. It's changed my life. I don't mind telling you, but I'm going to do that talk for you all again sometime. But taking charge over fear and anxiety, just a topic here. Acknowledge your fear. If you have a fear, acknowledge what it is, and connecting to how you feel can help you make better decisions. Always put my feelings out, man. I like to express them. I don't like to keep bottled up and blow them out. I like to put them out there, and I like people that don't mind analyzing that stuff with me. They don't get worked up about it. This is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling. I'm checking it out and things like that. So when you put it out there, you can examine it and do some critical thinking. And so do a reality check when you do this with fear and anxiety. Because look, you know the story. Some of those things we worry about never come to be. We waste a lot of energy. It affects our health, relationships, emotions. And you go, what was I so worked up about? You know what I mean? It can be, and I'm not saying that sometimes they're there for a reason. So, to figure that out is important. Do a reality check, because most fears are not based on current reality. Do that reality check. And work to control your thoughts. Those thoughts can get going, man. They can get a little carried away sometimes. And I don't diagnose people. I just talk about issues, though, because anxiety, fear, that's anxiety, that's fear, man. You're scared of things. You're worried about it. And that worrying, it can be consuming. It can be toxic sometimes. It can just become a habit. So we're going to talk about taking charge about that, like I said. Commit to important values in your personal and work life. Figure out what's important to you, what you enjoy doing. Again, I say that, make a list of those and put your time and energy on what you like doing, what you want to do, what's important to you, that kind of thing. Don't get sidetracked with all the other things. Take charge of that stuff, but get it out. Get it controlled. Work to identify meaning and purpose in your life and envision and focus on your desired future. Have that goal, what you want. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm telling people what to do, because you know, I'm just putting it out here, just food for thought, okay? I don't want to turn anybody off. But self-care is important. Practice self-compassion. You know, don't beat yourself up and things like that. I don't like that when people get worked up. You know, if you're feeling low, hey, that's okay. I'm feeling low today. I'll work my way through it or something like that. I'll find a friend or an ally. You know, there's ways to handle that stuff. And keep healthy sleep hours. Again, that's sleep. I don't know about you all, but I like sleep, man. When I don't get it, I'm worked up, you know. It's important. At a certain hour, go to whatever you want to do. Go to bed, get your rest. And then if anybody, I think we're going to get a copy of this PowerPoint, the slides, to you all. I don't mind sending a PowerPoint to somebody and let you all have the PowerPoint too.
Excellent.
You know, yeah, I will do that. I don't make it and not let anybody have it. I want you to have it. Okay, so I'll make sure you get it. Maintain good nutrition in those regular eating hours. Does that make sense? And then constructive leisure time activities and hobbies, things you enjoy, you like doing. I'm going to go back to that list. I got a list of things I need to do, but now there's some things that are important to me, and I'm going to do them. Things I like doing for me. It's okay to do that. Why not? Why not? Do things you enjoy. Exercise, hiking, walking, whatever, to get that little energy. You know, I don't mind walking and stuff. I like that walking. I like hiking, but walking in a neighborhood like this, you can get some exercise, go around a track or something, but get that walk in, it's good. Other exercises. Mindfulness, meditation, yoga can shift your focus to positive emotions in your daily life. You know, this meditation and mindfulness is good stuff. You know, you can get that on the internet too. You can find these things, they'll talk. It opens your mind up, it relaxes you. I don't mind saying it. And there was a time in my life I said, man, I'm not messing with that stuff. I'm all eager beaver and guy. I'm not doing that, but it works. It's good stuff. Self-care is important again. Foster healthy and supportive relationships. You got something toxic going on, try to deal with it and get it out of the way, because time's short, man. Do your stuff, enjoy your life, stay focused on what you want to achieve and what you want to do. And avoid social isolation, okay? That's why I like this group, you know. No need to isolate. You got friends and connections. And again, do not get involved in those negative coping skills. You know, I'll say like smoking, drinking, there's other behaviors. We'll go to the gambling thing. Don't become a problem gambler, man, you know, stuff like that. But anyway. And then practice self-care by taking time to relax and be kind to yourself. Always be kind to yourself. I mentioned that earlier, but be kind to yourself and avoid comparisons to others in your ability to overcome fear, anxiety, or what you got going on in life. Those comparisons are not good. They ruin self-esteem, self-confidence, and impact what I call your inner selves. Your inner selves need to be strong, so you can take things on. And, and do reflect on your past successes. I like to do that. Something good's going on, write it down. Put it on a calendar that you got, or on your phone if you do that on a date, so you can go back, hey, this year I made this decision or this worked out. But celebrate those successes. And again, examine your emotional reaction patterns, how we react to whatever's going on. And I'm going to show you a slide in a minute I think you'll like about that. And learn to express your feelings in a useful way. We don't want to get angry. We don't want to get down in the dumps. We want to express what we're feeling, what we're experiencing, and put it out there on the table and express it in a useful way. We don't want to blow up. We don't want to do anything negative, but just put it out there. Find friends, people you can talk to. Develop and learn new coping skills. Again, this is a coping skill presentation. I've got other coping skills, things I do, a bundle of them that are online. I'll send you some of the links to YouTube. You can watch them sometime. But I do them for Virginia Cooperative Extension. They're statewide, North Carolina and Virginia. people listen to stuff, so it helps. You can develop new coping skills. Control what you can and avoid dwelling on things you cannot control. Easy to say, but that stuff creeps in. But I always put that in because I have people go, man, I love that statement right there. For whatever hits it hits them, but it's a good statement. You can control, you're going to have to let the other stuff go, man. Control what you can. Don't dwell on the other. Explore community supports and programs and get professional help if need be. Not a crime to go to a counselor or talk to somebody. Our agency I work for has counseling. There's other counselors around. Anything you need, somebody you need to talk to, groups, So, this is the thing I wanted to share with you guys, and people find this interesting. When you talk about emotional reaction patterns, something goes on, and it could be a shattering event, it could be adversity. It ties into the resiliency thing. When you have some adversity, how do you handle it? Move forward, bounce back, move forward. So it starts with emotional reaction patterns. It's a foundational thing here. So let's say there's an adversity. I like the word challenges. I've come to accept that. Hey, no matter what it is, I don't care how bad it is, it's a challenge. And I'm going to try to take it on. And out of that, I'm going to learn something, grow, evolve, pat myself on the back, or learn something that I didn't know, and then I can learn, if it didn't work out, I'll go back to the thing, I won't crumble. I'll go back at it, talk to experts, I'm gonna find a way through it. It's a challenge. And you can do that. Get that energy and take it on. But anyway, how do people react when there's adversity, challenges, or shattering events? They can get angry. And look, I'm gonna say there's a color code on it. In red, is a stoplight, red. We're talking about moving forward. Resiliency is moving forward, right? So that's not going to take you forward. You can get angry, you can explode, yell and scream, throw stuff. And what happens after that? You go, hey, I'm sorry for what I did. I shouldn't have done that. Now I got to clean up all the mess, try to fix the relationships I blew up, whatever, Or you can go numb. You can take the stuff inside, like we talked about, bottle it up. Leave it in there, do nothing about it. What happens from that, man? What happens when you bottle stuff up? What can happen to you? What's that?
You can explode later.
You can explode later. I appreciate that. You can go from that to the anger. It'll eventually come out like a bomb. What else can it do to you?
Make you ill.
Yeah.
Make you ill.
Make you ill. And I mean, it can make you really ill. You can experience anxiety, depression. It can affect your physical health. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I go back to the statement I meant, the people that have that positive optimism and stuff, maybe they live longer. I don't know. But if you're doing that stuff there, it could be a problem. So those are things to avoid. Now, you can get upset. Okay? Now, upset's different from getting angry. Upset is expressing your feelings in a useful way. I don't like what's going on here, and I'm just letting you know, or I'm talking to myself or somebody. This is a problem, but, the word but slips in, but I'm going to find a way to move through this. Some people do that and they try to make themselves a victim. I'm not into making people victims, that's going nowhere too. So you express your feelings in a useful way, and then you start to use those coping skills for whatever's going on. Here's the issue. Let me write it right down there. Now, what steps can I take? What actions can I take to handle this challenge? Okay? And when you're doing that, you're beginning to resiliency. I was at a talk one time at a library group, and the librarian said, that's not a word. I said, hey, look, man, I'm telling you, go check on the dictionary. You work in the library. You know better than that. Came back in, yes, it's a word. I love the word resil. I want to make a song with I resil, I feel, let's cut loose, baby. That's what I'm talking about. We're going to resil. And when you start to resil, look what happens, man. The sun starts to come out. You can't see the bottom of that. I don't know. I'm going to have to condense my thing the next time I get on this thing, but it's the word thrive comes up. I'm not teaching people to survive whatever's going on. You learn, grow, evolve, and you maybe have to repeat some stuff, problem solving things, but you take it on, you take on the challenge, and you're thriving. You're not surviving. I don't want people surviving, I want people thriving, learn, grow, and evolve. And there's the word thriving, see it there with the sun spinning around with a smile. And so when you look at these reaction patterns, look, emotional states do affect our ability to bounce back, move forward through adversity, challenges. And positive emotions broaden and strengthen that ability. It's not the situation, it's our response to it a lot of times. Hey, I'm not going to compound the problem or the issue. I'm going to stick to the plan here. I'm going to take it on, come up with a plan, and keep myself going in the straight and narrow there. And I'm going to respond appropriately, hit my coping skills. Accept responsibility for our reactions. We can do that. You saw the chart. If you go one way or the other, keep on the straight and narrow with I'm going to express my feelings in a useful way. Let me start to cope. It becomes a pattern, man. Believe me. I used to get angry at stuff a lot. And when I had this training years ago, the guy that did it, Al Siebert, he's passed away now, but I met him. I've talked to him for years. He was out in Washington, state of Washington. I said, I'm using this stuff. I'm spreading the word, and I'm loving every minute of it. I'm telling you right now, he needed to hear that. And it works, man. I'm telling you now, it becomes, instead of getting angry, I'd say, hey, I'm going to express my feelings. I don't like this, but what am I going to do about it? Let's go. All of a sudden, you're just snapping and doing it. And then people started getting on me. They say, hey, you're moving forward so fast, man. You're not giving us time to catch up. They want to linger in the anger, the feeling down in the dumps. I said, well, hey, I'll be out here waiting for you when you're ready to go, because I'm ready to move, keep moving forward, man. So it works. And so, I love this question here. What did I learn from this? Anytime we experience something, even if it doesn't work out, it's good. What did I learn? Okay, I learned not to do it that way. I learned to tweak it or do this or that. So you're evolving, growing, learning, and that kind of thing. And so you always want to keep that good spirit. Keep that good energy. Be the person that takes on those challenges. And so look at the positive emotions. I like to lay these out. Feelings of enjoyment, playfulness, not practical joking. That'll get you hurt. You know what I mean? Playfulness is okay. Lightheartedness, contentment, laughing, satisfaction. The Rolling Stones used to say that all the time. They couldn't get any satisfaction. We can get some satisfaction. And so warm relationships. Nice, huh? Love. Nothing wrong with love. And affection. And so let's talk about some of those negative emotions that we may experience. Anxiety, the fear. We talked about that. Anxiety, fear, anger, vulnerability. That's an interesting word, isn't it? When you're feeling vulnerable and exposed, something can happen to me, it can get me, things like that. You're out in the jungle waiting for a wild cat to show up or something, man, but helplessness. Negative emotions narrow a person's range of thoughts. It puts like a vice on your mind. You can't think clearly. You know what I'm saying? You can't come up with these choices to move forward, use those coping skills. So, we need to avoid that, those negative emotions. Problem solving also, when you experience these positive emotions, it opens your mind to a broad range of new ideas, paths to move forward, courses of action. Positive emotions increase resiliency, your ability to feel strong, self-confident, bounce back, move forward. And when you experience those positive emotions each day, it enhances your problem-solving abilities. When faced with adversity, you guys all right? I'm not wearing you out, am I? You guys good? Okay, I don't want to overdo my stay, you know what I mean? But when you're faced with adversity, what can happen? Your mind and habits will create either barriers or bridges to a better future. We want to train our mind to get on that bridge, be self-confident, move forward, be resilient, use those coping skills, view it as a challenge, do all those positive emotions that go with it. We do not want to be running into a wall and going nowhere. We want to be moving forward. Resiliency, keep in mind, this can be learned and developed. Sometimes people, you think they're born with it. Some people have a lifetime of things go on. It evolves in them, So you can learn it. It can be learned and developed. You have to have the information. And so, look, the struggle to bounce back and recover from setbacks that you have can lead to you to developing strengths and abilities you did not know were possible. You know, when you're experiencing something that's a challenge, you come through it. Hey, man, I'm proud of myself. I didn't know I could do that, you know, but, you know, you get that inner strength and you move forward. So, listen, I wanted to mention this too with our agency. You know, if anybody has any problems, any issues going on, you need counseling or anything, I always put this in here. You know, we got there's a National Suicide Crisis Lifeline number, but our crisis services is that number right there. So these are services you can access if you need to talk to somebody, something like that. We're here and that kind of thing. And when you advocate for yourself, you improve the quality of your life. Okay? You can do it. And like I said, I'll come here anytime you want for more presentations, more coping skill presentations, anything. It's been a joy being with you all. Do you have any questions, any comments, any input here? What do you think? Yes?
Do you have any tips for when you are at your doctor's to, you know, what you can do when you're there to, you know, remind yourself to advocate for yourself?
Well, you know, the stuff just gets in you. If you use if you learn assertive communication skills, you feel confident saying, hey, I got a right to express my feelings. I have a right to say what I'm feeling, and I have a right for you to listen to me and understand that. You know, so nobody's over you. It's a teamwork. You're there for a service. And we just went over what a good doctor would be like. They would listen, they would care, put it out here. I want to listen and hear it and understand it. I want to help you. So if you got something on your mind, and if it helps you, write it down. Because sometimes when people get in the mix, you know, they forget it. You know, they get nervous a little bit until you get that, the ability, and you do it enough and you feel self-confident doing it. Work on self-confidence, self-esteem. That ties in there too. You know, you have a right. You know, you're a fine person. You're not being off the wall. You're not inconveniencing anybody. But write it down and take the time to express yourself. You know, take the inner strength to do it and just put it out there. The more you do it, the better it feels. You get people's attention when you do it. Write it down. I need this. I want to talk about that. Take somebody with you if you need somebody to be your voice. You hear me? Get somebody who understands what's going on. They listen to you. I will go with you and make sure they understand. You do the talking, but I'm going to fill in if I need to. So some tips.
One of the things that, when I'm at the doctor's or whatever, they explain to you things, but sometimes what they say is not what you hear. So it's good to repeat what they told you to do or the information.
Yes.
And then there's the opportunity to, them to say, no, that's not what you need to do, that's not what I meant, that's not the situation. So you clarify
I like it.
by repeating what you thought you heard.
I love it. Look, I'll go back to the parole days. When I signed somebody up on probation or parole, I gave them the conditions. I would read it slow. I'd look at them and say, now, do you understand what I'm saying? What did I just tell you? And so that's active communication and listening. And if you're not understanding it, don't be afraid to say, hey, I don't understand what you're saying. I want, can you repeat it, or let me repeat it back, or make sure they give you something in writing and they show it to you and you can see it right on there. You don't get lost in trying to figure it out. Highlight it, do whatever. Make this easy for me to do. You want me to do this, I want to make sure I understand.
Right.
I want the steps, I like it simple, and I'll do it. Yeah, I like what you're saying.
Because it happens to me, what I think I heard is not what he meant.
Yeah, you're not alone. It can go like that. So it's not bad to have bad. I want you to repeat yourself. Or I want to tell you what I think you said and tell me if I'm right.
Yeah.
That's you're flipping it instead of you're the person being told something. Okay, I want to tell you, I want to make sure you understand I understand what you're telling me. Yeah, I love it. I like that.
We have a medical note-taking, program here.
Oh, wow.
So that
Very cool.
volunteers who drive someone to the physicians, they've been specially trained to know how to
I love it.
behave in the physician's or provider's office.
Right.
But they're basically there to take notes for the client, the
Client,
member
yeah.
that we're taking.
They're an
the
advocate.
member.
They're an advocate
And
for
then
you.
leave them,
Yeah,
leave the notes with them after they get back home.
I love
There are
that.
several people have been trained to do that.
I love that. I love it. So there, you know, that's, you can advocate yourself, but sometimes you do need an advocate, you know? Yeah, a support person.
It's not so much being an advocate, but it's taking notes for them. You know, we have to be careful
Support.
we don't go
Yeah,
cross a line as a volunteer, but
right.
it's a matter of taking notes for them.
Okay,
so
I
that they
do
have
the
something
wrong,
to refer.
appreciate you correcting me. I like that, but this support.
But you're an
support
advocate
here.
to the individual,
That's
because
what-
you're
yeah.
there, you're talking with them beforehand and
Right.
finding out what's
Yeah.
important to them, so there is advocacy
There is,
associated with it, but when you're in the office, you're
yeah. You're not
recording.
taking over that, but
Right,
you are
right.
making sure they
Yeah.
understand. That's what I mean, an advocate for the person. Yeah, love it, for the understanding. I love it. I love it. Sometimes we need someone,
Mhm.
you know, we need help. We need someone we can trust.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anything else? You guys are great.
Wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.